Nau mai e te awa wa te huia mai tō hā ki e nei mauri ora huri hia te pōuri uri te pōhangu kei tua. Kei te tuhi, kei te rārama, hura mai te rā pai mārire ki a tātou katoa. Pai mārire te hunga whakarongo e te hunga mātakitaki nau mai. Whakatau mai ki tēnei o ngā whakawhitinga kōrero, tēnei wānanga e haere aki nei. Nā reira, nau mai rā, piki mai rā. Tēnei te kau atu ki tēnei o ngā mokopuna o Taranaki, te Ātiawa, Ngāti Parau, te Aitanga Mahaki, e Taipuni, e rere tonu ngā mihi kia koe o tira ki tō whānau, tēnā rā koe e mara, tēnā koe kei taku tuakana, kei taku rangatira. E tika ai te kōrero bau, e te ika unahi nui, ko koe tērā, kāre pau, i roto i ngā tau, ko koe tērā e whakapau kaha ana ki te hiki i te mana motuhake i te hauora o ngai Māori kei te takiwā o Taranaki o Tirā ki ngā takiwā katoa o te motu nei. Nā reira kāre pau he ika unahi nui e mihi ana ki a koe. Kei ware hoki ki ngā mahi ki te whenua arā ki te taiao. Kia nei ko te oranga o te whenua, ko te oranga o te taiao, ko te oranga o te tangata. Nā reira e taku tuakana tēnei au e mihi ana. Welcome everybody. This is a very exciting time, exciting space to be entering into. My name is Alex Barnes, and I'm privileged to introduce my tuakana, my whanaunga, my friend, my mentor, my rangatira, Taipuni Ruakiri, who hails from the east and the west coast of Tika Maui, and I've just dropped a couple of whakatauaki there that has been shared with me from Taipuni about his people and the commitment to continue to strive for the betterment of Māori and Taranaki in particular, but all Māori in relation to our environment and education. And so it's awesome to have you here, Taipuni. Now, Taipuni's a really interesting guy. He does a lot of groundwork in his local area in Taranaki, but he also has some really interesting connections internationally through some of his GIS work. He's worked in schools, both Pākehā schools and Ngā Kura Kaupapa Māori. He's also working with local government as well, but I'll leave that for Taipuni to describe. Nā reira, Taipuni, kei a koe te wāhihua, tēnā koe.
Kia ora tātou, tētahi mihi ana ki a koe, e te tuakana, e mihi ana ki a koe kia whai wā, kia wakaritiri te tēnei o ngā wā o te kōrero, te waka uti kōrero mō e nei o ngā kaupapa o te ao nei, te ao turua me ki, e mihi ana ki a koe, me o iwi e hoa, e o maunga, wakahi, me tō wānau, tēnei e mihi aroha, kia koe o hoki ngā mahara ki e rau ngā kaupapa o tātai ahorau, me o tāua nei hoa, i taua wā e tūtaki tāua me te mahi ngātahi mō ngā kaupapa o te mutu, me tētihi o ngā kaupapa o te kāinga nei. Me te rau ngā kōrero ai mo te ika una i nui, he kōrero Taranaki iwi, i puta i te wā o ngā pakanga i wainganui o ngā iwi, ko te kōrero ko ngā una i o te ika e kore e pau, e kōrero mo te kaha o te iwi, te pakari o te iwi me te kotaitanga. E koina tino kōrero hei arahi tonu i a tātou i tēnei wā, no reira mihi ana kia koe e hoa, mea rā o ngā kōrero tuku i o te kāinga. Kia ora everybody that's listening, and just wanted to acknowledge you all and in the times that we're living in and the challenges that we face as iwi putanoi te mutu, and just wanted to acknowledge you, Alex, for the opportunity to have a kōrero, and I always enjoy catching up with you, and as I said earlier before we started this recording, you know, you have some really deep conversations about a lot of issues in our world. And sometimes it's good to just keep things simple, and you need a bit of humour too, to keep it light. So just wanted to mihi to you, Alex. Nice to connect with you again, and to have a bit of a kōrero about our kaupapa today. So as Alex said, born and bred here in Taranaki, and also connect to the Tairāwhiti as well on my mother's side. And I'm currently working with Te Kahui o Taranaki and our Taiao team, and our mahi is on the ground. It's walking our whenua, our streams, and observing the challenges that we face in our way, on our coastline. And there are many challenges here in Taranaki, as you can imagine. It's largely an agricultural, industrial area, oil and gas, farming, dairy farming. So there are huge impacts on our taiao here. So our mahi is to monitor the health, well-being of these special places. And then I also do a bit of GIS as well. And we look at GIS as a tool to help to capture the observations that we're making. And ultimately, through GIS and data capture through Te Ao Māori, our Taranaki lens, we're able to utilise that information to share with our own whānau hapu niwi. But most importantly, it's evidence on the ground that we can utilise to bring about change, to enhance and protect our taiao. So that's just a little bit about me and my whānau. We live here at Punihopa. This is our papa kāinga here, and my wife Rachel, and our three tamariki. Nō reira. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora. And what a beautiful home it is, my friends. I'll tell you, if you get the opportunity to visit that part of the world, beautiful, beautiful. That's an awesome introduction, my friend. That's an awesome introduction. And originally we were going to just do this whole recording while Taipuni was out doing some of his monitoring, doing some of his observations out on the awa, because that's where his happy place is, and that's where we've had some good laughs and some good yarns. But here we are in the Zoom land here, sitting here doing our thing. Hoi anō, e mihi ana ki tō tātou nei taiao, tēnā koe te tuakana, beautiful, beautiful. And so, the theme, Taipuni, of what we've been talking about, amongst ourselves, well, you and I for many years, but with other educationalists who can see the problems with the problems we all face, the complexity of disparity between Māori and non-Māori in all areas, both environmentally, looking after our environment, and also in education. And I think we'd both align on this, that those things are interconnected. So, we've been thinking about ways of working with schools or organizations generally, because you've worked in schools, but you've also worked, like you were saying, with the local government. And so, this key question, how do these organizations, or maybe the key question is this: if an organization were to come to you and ask you, hey, Taipuni, we want to develop a relationship with tangata whenua, we can see the need here, what would you say to them? What would your kind of key kind of whakaaro be, reflection on that? So yeah, in your experience.
Yeah, no, he pai tērā pātai. Just recently in our taiao mahi, as you can imagine, with a lot of the legislative changes that are happening, hapu and iwi are overwhelmed with requests from local government agencies to connect with us. And if I can speak from our experience as a team, a lot of their questions are around Mātauranga Māori, and gaining a better understanding of, for us here in Taranaki iwi, Mātauranga Māori that is related to our mahi, our awa, our coastlines, our whenua, our maunga. And so, our people we don't have the capacity yet to respond when we have requests from local government to to support that. We're still growing our capacity locally. A lot of our whānau here are volunteers in our hapu spaces on our marae. So now we're at a place where we've been for years sort of focusing on the maintenance of our marae, but now it's suddenly become a greater mahi now, which is incorporating our hapu mahi, and which is our rivers, our environmental, the challenges that we're facing with local farming and so forth. So yeah, how I respond to whether it's local government, whether it's schools, kaiako or tūmaki, is just paramai, come to us and let's have a kōrero. And you could either come to our homes. In our mahi, we encourage to have our whānau come in alongside us when we're doing our mahi. We might be walking a river, we might be doing some monitoring in the rivers, or we could be planting harakeke. And so those are great places to have that kōrero. So that's how I encourage that engagement to take place, to keep it simple, not too formal. Keep it, make it an easy engagement really. And often that helps to break down barriers, with people. And when you add a bit of kai, you have a cup of tea and you have a kai together. That's for all people. It's a universal language, eh?
Kia ora. Yes.
Kai. Having kai and then through that engagement, then you have a kōrero. And then, so that's what we do, Alex. I mean, that's sort of been my approach with anybody really. Come alongside us. Often we've been asked to go to them.
Yeah.
Often we've been asked with no resources, to drive to Hui for a few hours. Where often they're paid to do that.
Yes.
And we're having to do it ourselves. So, that can be very taxing, on our health, to engage in that way. So, and for a long time, and I suppose I'll just speak for myself, when I was teaching at high school, you would have all the questions around, engaging with hapu and iwi, around history, around kōrero, and you would always be the one that's approached to give of your time. Get a phone call last night, are you available to come and share some kōrero? And that's happened for many of us. So you share a bit of kōrero to local school, and then you get given some chocolates, that's been my experience over the years. And so I think that approach, that has to, I hope that's changed.
Yeah.
Where when you're invited to share kōrero, it doesn't matter if it's a kōrero nui, kōrero iti, that the person that's been invited is treated with manakitanga and acknowledged for the value that they bring. Because in my experience, that often hasn't been the case. You're giving of your time. And so now that we've been approached by many people with the changes in the curriculum, which is great to see, the history curriculum being acknowledged for tangata whenua. But yeah, those sorts of ways of engaging,
yeah, I mean,
they have to change.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Which is why we're having this discussion. So, like, if I think of what you've just shared, there's a couple of key things that really speak to me. One is you're being asked to be involved in everything. So at the iwi and hapu level, you're being asked to be involved in all sorts of things. So because there's a requirement now on all sorts of government agencies to work with Māori, whether that be hapu, iwi, whānau, and so you're stretched. I've heard that.
Yep.
Yeah, and And so that when schools are thinking about these relationships, they need to understand that different iwi and hapu will be at different places, so and have different capabilities to provide. So not to expect things to just happen like this. And then the other, because of that, we're still kind of stuck in a system where Māori are being, like you kind of said, expected to just come and give and give and give and give and give. But the time now is actually to pause and go, how are we contributing back to hapu and iwi? And one of the key things that I heard you say there, well, in my mind, is for the school or the organisation to think, what's on the map or what's on the calendar of the local iwi? What are they up to? So for you guys, you might be doing a planting day. So actually make contact, get in touch, say, hey, we're keen to develop a relationship. We'll come out and help with the planting, you know? And so the school is moving out of their comfort zone and into your zone. So automatically there's a sharing of power. There's the moving from the school site to the iwi or the hapu site.
Yes, yeah, definitely, Alex. And that's been our experience in recent years with our local kura. Yeah, they'll put their hands up and they've requested in a respectful way. So it's more about how can we help you? What can we do to help with? But our tamariki here are really keen to come and help you. And you're right, it's about engaging and connecting hono ki ngā kaupapa. So planting is a great example here in our community. We've had many opportunities where our local kura have supported us and the kaiako as well. So, and I always encourage and always have when schools come and maybe have a marae noho here, I always request bring some new teachers with you, bring some kaiako that are new in your kura, and they're welcome to come and spend their time here with us. And so, you know, that's helping that relationship for them. Matariki, puanga, those are also opportunities to connect with your local Māori community, because often, and a good example here is at Parihaka, every year we have a puanga celebration, and that's always been an open invitation to our community, whether it's in Taranaki or outside Taranaki, and it's open, and a lot of different people, you know, it's diverse, and people come, so haere, ka hara mai ngā tangata hei ringaringa. And that's another probably key message too, is to, first of all, is to go and listen, not necessarily have to say anything, go and listen and go with your ringaringa to offer some help, go with your help with the back of the marae with the dishes, help peeling the potatoes, because that's where the rangatira are, hey? Kei muri, kei mua hoki ngari, kei muri ngai ko te tuara o te marae. You know, all the aunties are there, our uncles are there, and if it's if I come back to an example about puanga, in my experience over the last few years here, I've seen a large, well, a diverse group of people coming, and including our local kaiako from our kuras, and they've really benefited from being at that kaupapa, because they're helping with the mahi, and then while they're doing the mahi with the mara, they're hearing kōrero from our whānau, you know, and that's where the learning's been taking place. So, no, learning doesn't have to be in a formal way. You know, learning in the old days, you know, we all learned by watching, you know, the examples around us, our uncles, our aunties, our whānau, whether it's gathering watercress or gathering mātaitai, preparing a hangi, setting up a dining room. Our examples, our tauira, it wasn't written down. It was through experience, and I think yeah, that's a great strategy to engage with us.
Well, that to me, when you talk about that, that takes I'm thinking of leadership qualities as you're talking, and a couple of leadership things spring up when you're talking about that. Like just before, you were saying bring new kaiako in. You know, if you're going to come along, bring in new kaiako. And I was thinking that's to help maybe help spread the load, so, or to create a more broad base of relationships, so you're not like dependent on one or two people, usually Māori teachers, holding the relationship, because that can often happen too, right? And it becomes very fragile when you've got one or two Māori having to do all the work in the school, between the school, and then too with the local hapu and iwi. So I really like that you're trying to broaden that out. That's what I think. Is that kind of what you were trying to say too, is to have that relationship shared a bit more?
Yeah, definitely agree with the sharing of the workload and the expectations and the responsibilities that are often on the shoulders of one person in the school, generally the teacher te reo Māori. And that's often been a common theme in our mainstream schools. And I think probably what I was getting about, what I was going to probably focus on too, or what I was highlighting, is yes, to spread that awareness and that understanding and the knowledge of our local marae and tangata whenua through bringing other people alongside you.
Yes,
bringing them into that environment to hear kōrero, to meet us, and to have that time with us.
Because the other thing too that strikes me is you're talking quite pragmatically, like, but those skills of listening, not going in and going, we need a look type, we need a local curriculum. Can you just give us, we need this and this by this date, What you're saying is actually, no, just, well, what I think you're saying is just come, be quiet, be open to helping, and observe, soak it up. Don't necessarily jump to action. And that takes like a leadership skill of humility, of letting go of one's own imperative or agenda. It's like, I'm going to just leave my school agenda here for a bit. It's school agenda, but the formal agenda, and be in a place with Taipuni and his whānau and people that is more about just being with and letting it go, and not being constrained necessarily by time and agendas. It's quite a different frame, eh?
Yeah, it's been present at the time, and often in our schooling system. It is determined by structure. It is determined by frameworks, time frames, I should say. We're teaching our curriculum, we need to get it taught by this time, and then we have assessments. So a lot of curriculum is still assessment driven. So you're right. So if we look at the education sector, it's about taking off your hat, that fortai, and being open-minded and being humble. Haere, kia humari e te haere, and kia manawa nui, and being patient. Because what you might have no expectations. I mean, you have some expectations about what you're doing, but don't have too many. Be open to, we may not get to that part of it. We may not get to that part today. It might just meeting and doing some mahi. You might end up actually going to do mahi for a day, and you may not even kōrero about your kaupapa that you've bought. So it's being open to that, because being organic. With our people, because that's how we are. So yeah, you're right, Alex. It's been going and listening, and hey, that could take time. Could take weeks. It could take months. It could take years. Because relationships take time. When you build it from a foundation, when you build anything from a foundation, like a whare, you want to do that well. And it may be a case of you might be building that foundation for your kura, and then someone else will come and do the next step. So I think the early stages of engagement are really, really pivotal, I should say, and how things happen down the track. So just go with an open mind and be patient and let things happen naturally. Don't try to force things, make things happen based on your timeframes, or often it's based on funding criteria. Got to get these, done by a certain time, and yeah. So yeah.
No, it's we were talking before we jumped on too about this whole cautious. Tau, non-Māori need to be cautious around how they're doing it. They need to think through what their motivations. And when I was talking with Therese Ford in the other discussion, she was saying, in her evolution of thinking, she was saying the most important thing that I tell organizations and schools now is to inquire into your motivation. And that for me is why are you doing it? What's the aim? What's the purpose? Get your own house. Me whakatika I tō ake whare. Get your own foundation and house in order before jumping out. And so, yeah, I'm picking that up from you too. There's like this be cautious, be humble. It's a delicate process because for so long now, many schools, not all schools, but many schools have neglected the realities of local whānau hapua niwi. Environmentally, educationally, health, all sorts. So it's a delicate process. But I'm also hearing you say it's Māori tangata whenua. Also, it's cautious that they're also being quite cautious about it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Alex. I think we also need to remember that there's our own whānau that have been disconnected through for us in Taranaki, through colonisation, through the loss, the taking of our land. Our economic base was destroyed in the 1860s, and we're still recovering from that. And during those years of confiscation, the loss of our culture was huge. Our cultural base, our language, our reo, our kōrero. So we want to also be prioritising our own people.
Kia ora, yeah.
And teaching them as much as we can, creating spaces to have wānanga for our own whānau. That should be first and foremost. Because we've had a lot of disconnection to all of our narratives, our local kōrero, our history, obviously our reo, our waiata, and around as we know, around the country. So for the curriculum, yeah, I think there needs to be a huge priority for our people, our own people, and resourcing, providing more resource for our people, not just the iwi resourcing it.
Yeah.
Central government, we've had settlement. We have a bit of pūtea through settlement in Taranaki. That doesn't mean that the resourcing ends there. So our people are very hiakai te kāinga. Our people in locally around the motu and overseas. Many of our whānau live overseas, and now we have the technology, like the Zui. The online wānanga space is accelerated through COVID. And so we have lots of recordings. We had a lot of initiatives that happened during that time through Pukamata, through the virtual online space, where we're able to share with our people. Yeah, so I think that needs to be a priority for us as well. Think about them.
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. So Māori are trying to rebuild their base, rebuild their sense of who they are and where their direction. So that's like an inward-facing development, eh? And then schools and other organisations and institutions are coming, wanting, but actually we need to, or Māori, I should say, tangata whenua are saying, hold up, we want to do both, but we need to just be, well, organisations need to be understand that redevelopment phase, which is actually never ending, eh? And that's what exciting about revitalization in the work you're doing with the GIS, which is just remind us, GIS stands for
It's Geographic Information Systems.
Woo!
Yeah, that's a flash word, but it's ko te wenua, ngā kōrero mo te wenua, ngā āuatanga, ngā maunga, ngā awa, te tapu tai moana. And GIS is a tool to help to visualize our world, and it's nothing new to iwi. Our people, our tupuna navigated the Moranui a Kiwa, you know, ngā whetū, kāwhi whetū, and that's how they arrived here. So GIS has always been part of us. So yeah, no, we do a bit of that mahi too, and that is helping us to visualize our narratives locally, and to share the outcomes of what we see. It's visual, which is, you know, our people are visual, so they can see in an instant a picture of our taiao. I was thinking about, you know, building our own whare, as you mentioned previously, and so we're in that, currently in that situation now as our hapu niwi is building our hapu, building our iwi capacity to do all the things that we want to do. We've had wānanga with our hapu for a lot of whenua sites that have come, you know, that we are now looking after as an iwi. And I think in our own team, our taiao team, is we're still ki te rapu tonu, te miangaro. We're still searching, you know, and you know, looking at our kōrero to develop our way of working, because we're not a department of conservation, we're not a council, and we work differently to them, but we need the time to look at how does that look for us, and that includes our mātauranga from home. So, you know, we need the time and space to build that as a team, and you know, it can take years, you know, and once we've found that, it's an ongoing, you know, it's ongoing. It's never an end point. Kore mutu te rā huarahi. But that's where we are as a team now, is going back to some of our traditional practices of fishing and growing kai, and also having discussions and kōrero around the maramataka for Taranaki iwi, because we know the marama, because the world's changing, you know, climate change is here, and so the maramataka 20 years ago or 50 years ago, when my dad was a young fella, when he was fishing, you know, the fish isn't there anymore, you know, the abundance of fish, of pe'aro lamprey eels in our rivers, they're not there anymore like they used to, the inanga, whitebait. So, you know, those are sorts of conversations that we're having as a team, why we do our mahi, where we're having kōrero around those observations, and what does the maramataka look like now, because it's going to change in time as well, you know, but we're hopeful, we're you know, we're optimistic.
Yeah,
we're optimistic, bro, that kei te ora haere, te taiao.
Kia ora.
Wow. You know, the signs are there, you know, we you know, me mahi te mahi, you know, as a community, as a people, and continue to you know, engage with our young people. You know, we're ahead, you know, we're like, what we do in our mahi, we're sort of, we're not the beginning. The beginning has already occurred with our tupuna. We're only part of that. We're part of that huarahi. And so what we do now is also thinking of the future. And so we're bringing our young people with us, to come with us when we do our mahi, just to do what I talked about before, just to get involved and get their hands in the whenua, into the awa. And, you know, it's the best way to learn. And there's your curriculum, you know, in action.
There you go.
It's the way our tupuna learn. So I'm always an advocate of getting outside, you know, ko te kura e huna, kura ki te taiao, you know, and encouraging as much as we can to have our schools come out with us. Health and safety is a big issue, that as we know, but there are ways around that to make it safe. And I think it's always, you know, always having a few kids with you as opposed to a whole lot of people. And you know, there's things that we can do to make it happen. You know.
Kia ora. Well, Taipuni, it's been an awesome kōrero, and we've got more to say. So many things we could have gone down, so many different alleyways and byways and, you know, bypasses. We've bypassed a few things. But no, e mihi ana ki a koe e taku tuakana. Tika tau, rapua te mea ngaro. We're all committed to finding ways of surviving and thriving. And what I've always loved about your work is your strong connection and bringing together both the technological side of things, whether that be the technology of the stars, you know, and the technology of the ocean, and the technology of the landmarks around you, of your tupuna, or the technology of this that we're doing now, you know, and GIS. But the connection between those technologies and place and actual land, you know, like that connection is so invaluable, and they're not, they can coexist. It's so I really appreciate all the work you're doing, my friend, and the inspiration you offer so many of us. So thank you, and mihi tonu ana. Do you have any last words you want to share with the people there?
Oh, just kia kaha tātou, kia manoa nui, ki te mahi inga mahi, iara, and just to keep it simple, really, keep grounded.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we'll get there. We'll get there as a people. Yeah, Queen.
Keep it grounded, yeah. Keep it real. Nā reira, kei taku rangatira e mihi tonu ana ki a koutou me ōpiringa. Thank you, Taipuni. We're going to include any other resources we've mentioned on the site here, so we'll be curating a bit of that. But Taipuni, go well. Look forward to our next catch up. And nā e mihi ana ki a koe hoa. Tēnā koe.
Yes, tēnā koe hoa.